Brilliance Audio presents The Wild Baron by Coulter, performed by Flosnik. The Mount Vale Townhouse, Cavendish Square, London, April 1811. Rohan Carrington, 5th Baron Mount Vale, bellowed at his brother's portrait. "If you did this, George, and if you weren't already dead, I'd thrash you within an inch of your bloody life. You little bounder! Were you even capable of such a thing?" Even as he yelled, Rohan felt a knot swell in his throat. George had been dead nearly a year. No, George couldn't have done this. George was studious, a scholar with no interest in matters of the flesh. Rohan remembered once, a long time ago, their father had taken him and George to Madame Triller's on Cliver Street. At the sight of a very voluptuous redhead with magnificent breasts, George had blanched and then run half the way back to Mount Vale Townhouse. After that, their father had left George alone. George had stuck to his maps and his studies. At least so Rohan had always believed. "No," Rohan said, his voice low and deep now, his eyes still on his brother's portrait, painted when George was 18. "I don't believe this damned letter. It was another young blood using your name, wasn't it? Did you really manage to bring yourself to the sticking point and ravish a young lady? Hell, did you even know what ravish meant? What does this man who calls himself her father want from me? Stupid question. Money, of course. Damn you, George, or rather damn the man who did this in your name." George didn't answer. The last Carrington to ruin a young lady and find himself shackled as a result had been Rohan's great-grandfather, the fabulous Luther Moran Carrington. Old Luther would shake his head, according to Rohan's grandfather, and mutter that he'd only tossed up Cora's skirts one miserable time, and he'd nailed her but good. He'd continued to nail Cora 14 more times, 8 of his children surviving into adulthood. Rohan pulled the bell cord behind the immaculate mahogany desk. His secretary Pulver must have been standing just outside the door, his face pressed against the wood, for he was in the library in but a moment, not a bit out of breath. He looked pale, gaunt, and put upon, all three of which he deserved, because, as his friend David Plummy had told him, "It serves you right, slaving like you do for the Wild Baron. Just look at all those uncivilized hours he keeps, and he works you harder than a dog in all the hours in between. What's more, he beds more women than you and I will ever even speak to in our lives, and everybody loves him for it, just like they love his mother and his father. He's a philanderer. It isn't fair, damn him. As for you, Pulver, you deserve to look like you're on your last legs." Pulver would shake his head mournfully, but the truth of it was that Pulver enjoyed himself immensely. Working for Baron Mount Vale gave him a certain cachet. He'd even been set upon by several ladies trying to bribe him to get them into the Baron's bedchamber. Pulver came to a halt in front of the Baron, who looked bilious and whose fair hair was standing on end. He was curious to know what news had sent his master over the edge. It wasn't every day that the Baron talked to himself. "Pulver, get my solicitor Symington over here. No, wait." The Baron broke off, staring at the portrait of his mother that hung beside George's above the mantel. It had been painted when she was 25, nearly his age now. She'd been glorious when she was young, and she was still incredibly beautiful at 45. In her younger years she had been wilder than a storm-tossed night, and he'd been told from his earliest memories that he was just like her, and like his proud papa, of course. They'd told him that he'd been blessed with their wild blood and tempestuous natures. "No," he said, bringing himself back to the problem at hand. "I will see to this myself. It's strange, and I don't believe a word of it. Besides, if there's no bastard, how can one prove ruination? And there's no mention at all of a bastard. Surely there would be mention in the bloody letter if there was a bastard, don't you think? No, I must do it myself. I don't want to, but I must, damn it. I will be gone for 3 days, no more."